Good day, our dear listeners. Welcome once again here at Salida Teleradio in La Filipina National High School. Today, you will learn another interesting topic about using analogy in describing or making a point in English 7 Quarter 2, together with your teacher broadcaster, Teacher Jasie Jean Alcala. I am your teacher host, Teacher Meldeline Lamparas. I will now turn you over to Teacher Jasie.
A pleasant day, viewers and listeners. Welcome to our episode this afternoon. Despite the pandemic, we are very glad that we will be able to deliver our lesson to you through Salida Teleradio. Today, you will be learning about the use of analogy in describing or making a point. This is part of your Module 6, Quarter 2 in English 7. But before we start, let us be guided by our lesson objectives. The first one is to recall the types of analogy. The second one is to make a statement using analogy in various communicative situations. And the third one is to use analogy in describing or making a point in real-life situations. In short, you will be applying this later in real-life events or in social context. Analogy is about word relationship that contains two pair of words. So you will be using your critical thinking skill in finding the relationship of these seemingly unrelated things. Analogy is a literary device or technique in which two unrelated objects are compared for their shared qualities. So let us answer the following tasks as a sort of review with the previous episode of analogy. Okay? So you will be telling me whether it's a synonym, an antonym, or a part-to-whole type of analogy. Are you ready? If you're ready, let's begin with task 1A. You were taught in the previous episode that the first colon is to be read as is to, and the double colon is to be read as. So, with this statement, father is to dad as mother is to mom. What do you think is the relationship among these things? Is it synonym, antonym, or part-to-whole? If your answer is synonym, you are correct. As a sort of review also, there are two forms on how to read that statement. The first one is father is to dad as mother is to mom. And if you are going to read it in sentence form, father is synonymous to dad as mother is synonymous to mom. Okay? Next question. Vaccine is to virus as antibiotic is to bacteria. What do you think is the answer? If you answered antonyms, you are correct. Next, hand is to body as root is to plant. What do you think is the answer? If your answer is part-to-whole, you are correct. We are going to read this analogy as hand is to body as root is to plant. Or in a sentence form, hand is part of a body as root is part of a plant, which makes it a part-to-whole relationship. But let me ask you a question. Can you think of a situation where you have to describe, convince, or explain to someone a difficult topic? Okay. For example, a science teacher explaining to his grade school students' immune system. how is he going to describe it or explain it to the grade schoolers? Yes, he may use analogy. He may use immune system to be compared to the army of the body, which protects the body from various germs, bacteria, and viruses. You try to form logical relationship or bridge between the immune system and the army of the body. But how are we going to use this analogy in social context? We will discuss this today. There are ways on how to use these analogies. Okay? The first one is to make abstract ideas more concrete. For example, in your lesson in TLE 7, your teacher might have introduced to you the word flambe. He may or may have not introduced to you yet the word flambe. That is F-L-A-M-B-E, flambe. But you don't know what this word means. So your teacher introduced to you fire. Actually, flambeing is adding fire or an alcoholic drink to your food. Okay? So there is a use of connecting the abstract idea to the concrete one, to the one that you are already familiar with. So with the use of analogy, that abstract idea or that difficult idea might be easily understood with the use of analogy. Just like flambe is to fire, and your teacher might add soup is to water. So with that analogy, there is a sort of understanding between you and your teacher. So one way to make it easier to draw analogy is to associate it with the things that you are already familiar with. Okay? So just like photosynthesis does for plants as digesting food for animals. So if you are familiar with the word digestion in the digestive system in your lesson in science, you will be able to understand what photosynthesis is with the association of those common things in the sentence form, in the analogy. Okay? So, the second one is adding depth and feeling to an image. Okay, do you know what an image is? It could be a visual or an actual picture of an object or a thing. So, when we say adding depth or feeling, that is putting emotion and mood into it. So, why is it important? So, it is important because with the use of the words that you associate to a certain word, you will be knowing what is the actual emotion or the weight of feeling that person may have. For example, she felt like a raft floating in the middle of a dark, endless ocean. Like her, the raft was floating along, alone, worn out, and unable to reach a steady place in which to settle. Notice what a powerful image these descriptions bring to our minds. Without the analogy, the author will just say the woman or she might be sad. So, but with the use of the words or the association of the words, you were able to give depth of feeling or emotion to a certain word. Okay? The third one, that is to make persuasive arguments. Are you familiar with the word persuasion? Persuasion is when you try to convince someone of a topic that you are well versed of or you are very familiar with. Okay? So, let us take this example. Lesson A. Lots of history's dictators started as soldiers. Therefore, soldiers should never become politicians because they'll end up as dictators. Okay, will you agree with that analogy? Okay, But if you are not convinced, you may counter that argument. You may say that, hey friend, I am sorry, but I disagree with your statement. That doesn't make sense. It's like saying lots of alcoholics started out by drinking milk. Therefore, no one should ever drink milk. Just as there are many milk drinkers who do not become alcoholics, there are also many soldiers who do not become dictators. So, obviously, this is a powerful tool with the purpose of convincing someone to try to change his faulty belief. Okay. It is especially useful when you want to show a flawed reasoning in another person's argument. Okay, can you see now the use of analogy in a real-life situation or in social context? Yes. Can you recall now the types of analogy or the use of analogy in social context? The first one is to make an abstract idea more concrete. The second one is to add a depth of feeling or emotion to an object or to a word. And the third one is to make a persuasive argument. Okay. As a sort of closure, you will be choosing a social issue just like what we did in the third example. You will be choosing a social issue in your barangay or in your purok. So what are these social issues? It could be about violence, it could be about using or observing the health protocols, it could be about the healthcare, it could be about inequality, about anything that you can think of that is worth noticing. You are going to choose a certain social issue and explain it to someone using analogy. And please be guided by this rubric. So you will be getting 3 points if all answers are related to your life as a student. You will be also getting 3 points if you used analogy clearly in the statement. And the third one, in the mechanics, if there are no grammatical errors, you will be getting 3 points. As an assignment, you are going to post your output on the social media, preferably in the comment section below. Before we end our lesson, let us go back to our lesson objectives. Have we recalled the types of analogies? Have we made a statement using analogy in various communicative situations? And have we used analogy in describing or making a point in real life? If your answer is yes, then congratulations. That ends our lesson for today. Thank you and goodbye.
Wow, that was a very engaging and interesting topic, Teacher Jasie. Thank you so much, and thank you viewers and listeners for tuning in. I hope that you have learned something today. I am your teacher host, Teacher Meldeline, and once again, have a nice day. Goodbye!